and ride with me in my fowl life.
What's up, Fowl Life Nation? Hope y'all are enjoying your duck goose season so far. I hope that everybody is being safe out there. The weather has turned for the better in most parts of the country, all of the flyways. We've been experiencing some unbelievable hunts. We had to skip Texas because it got up to almost 85 degrees at Christmas time. That's not cool. So we went straight to Oklahoma and had some unbelievable lesser Canada goose hunts, mallard duck hunts, water hunts, bean-field hunts, corn-field hunts, wheat-field hunts. Awesome experience down there again with Flatline Outfitters. And then we headed up to Nebraska Outfitters on the Wyoming, Nebraska line, and it has been amazing, mainly because we've been joined by some awesome guests, met a bunch of new friends, got to hook up with some friends that we've known for the past few years because of the mallard duck and the Canada goose. This network has been amazing to us, and that's what I love about traveling and coming to these different places. So you're listening to another episode of the Fowl Life Podcast, Safari Club International, SCI's Fowl Thoughts, brought to you by our friends and family. First for Hunters, Safari Club International. Thank you for everything SCI does behind the scenes on a daily basis. We tend to take things for granted as hunters. We know that we can get up, put our dog in the kennel, hook our boat up, hook our trailer up, put our decoys out, get in the blind, call it the ducks as the sun comes up, call it the geese as the sun goes down, decoy them, shoot them right where you want them, cook them, serve that bounty to friends and family. But I'm telling you that there is a lot of people that want to see this lifestyle go away, and that is what our friends at SCI are doing, lobbying, everything that they do with advocacy, their national convention, their recruitment, all of the signups that they are doing for new members right now. Become a life member, become a member of Safari Club International, because they need our help in making sure that they can go to work every day on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., plus the state capitals all around our country and around the world to fight for hunters' rights, putting hunters first, and not just the Dangerous Five or going to Africa, because a lot of people equate safari with Africa. Safari is an experience. So you could be a squirrel hunter in Alabama, a duck hunter in Arkansas, a mountain lion hunter in Nevada, Idaho, a sheep hunter in the great Northwest Territories. It doesn't matter what you do. If you're a hunter, you need to be a member of SCI. If you're a shooter, you need to be a member of the NRA, the National Rifle Association, to protect our Second Amendment. But right now, there's never been a more important time to fight for hunters' rights. It is a privilege to hunt, but it is our right to hunt. It says it in the Bible, and it is not going to be taken away from us if hunters have anything to do with it. But we cannot sit on the couch and be idle and just watch the world go by and think that our hunting heritage is going to be protected. It's because of Safari Club International and many conservation organizations around the country fighting for hunters' rights on a daily basis. And my two guests today are life members of Safari Club International. They've hunted around the world. They're in the Boone and Crockett Hall of Fame. One of our guests has hunted in 37 freaking countries. This is an amazing lifestyle to be a hunter, to be able to wake up in America and go hunt, get on a plane and go to Argentina and hunt doves and ducks and geese and Magellan geese at that, one of the most beautiful geese on the planet. You can hunt so many different varieties of wildlife all over this world, and it's because of people that pay their dues and set the trend, like Safari Club International members, John Lomonaco and Les Naisbitt. Les, how are you, my man?
I'm just fine, Judd.
Are you a member of SCI?
I have been a life member of SCI for, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 years. It's been a long time.
John Lomonaco, welcome, my man. You're a member of SCI.
Yes, sir.
How long have you been a member?
Well, I think when C.J. McElroy was the first president of SCI was somewhere around 1967 or 68. So you can do the math there. And I've been a lot of years, and I think it's been a real stimulation to hunters all over the world, and it certainly has put me in touch with a lot of wonderful guys that have enjoyed the same passion that has consumed me.
I love hearing that. One of the things, Les and I have got to do over the years is Safari Club International's convention, their national convention, has been in our backyard of Reno, Nevada quite a few times. It's in Vegas now, and it's going to be moving across the country in places like Nashville and Louisville and New Orleans in the next few years. But the convention is strong. You're talking 800 to 1,000 outfitters and different, people that are displaying their company and their booths. You're talking public figures that are giving speeches in political realms, entertainment realms. This year, they're going to have Larry the Cable Guy. They're going to have Donald Trump Jr. They're going to have several different speakers throughout the entire convention. Have you been to several yourself, John?
Yes, I have been to several conventions, and for a while, that was really a wonderful challenge for me to meet outfitters, guides, organizers from all over the world. And it's a very educational experience to go to the convention. It isn't just a party time. You're going to be exposed to hunting at its highest level. And I've always enjoyed the opportunity to connect the names and the faces, and over the years, I've made a lot of wonderful friends, all of whom share the same passions that we all love in the hunting world.
Les, you've had some of these experiences at the convention as well.
I have. Probably not near as many as John, but there's a lot of things you can do. There's seminars, you can learn things. Everybody is so willing. If you have a particular species of animal that you may want to hunt, you can find out different outfitters from other hunters. You can talk to them, get their experience from maybe a different outfitter they may have been with, and what would suit you the best, be it a horseback or a backpack or whatever it may be. There's all the information you need to know about hunting and all aspects of hunting. And it seems to be opening up a little more to the waterfowl and the upland game and the more local type hunting than it was 20, 30 years ago. It was recognized more, I think, more as John can answer best to this, but as maybe more of an African international thing than it is today. Seems to be a lot of local input.
Do you think that's fair to say, John Lomonaco, that, back when I was in my 20s and you'd hear the SCI convention was coming to town, I always had the mindset, well, man, I'm never going to go to Africa. Do you think that a lot of people had that mindset?
Well, not today, but I agree with Wes's statement. In the formative years of SCI, I just recall it set lofty goals. And I thought, because I've been interested in this all my life, that, someday, wouldn't it be great to have a trophy room? Wouldn't it be great to go to Kenya or Zimbabwe or South Africa? That would really be an experience. And we have to face up to the fact that hunting, particularly today, is a very expensive outfit. And people early on just looked at it from a distance. Well, maybe someday I can make it. And if you think about anything long enough and hard enough, and if you want it, you can make it happen. And I know I did that on my first safari. I said, well, I know I can get over there. And it was really an economic issue for me to take that giant step to go to Africa. And of course, it was a very, very worthwhile experience that I'll treasure all my life. And some of the professional white hunters that I became acquainted with have gone down in hunting history. But over a period of years, again, Wes covered that item, the total scope of the objectives changed rather dramatically. Conservation and conservation practices became a big part of SCI. And we know that if we kill the goose that lays the golden egg, we're going to have some problems. And I think SCI has dramatically shown over a period of years that they know what's hurting game, and they're doing everything they can to support organizations that want to protect this wonderful heritage. But the transition period just automatically flew into other phases of hunting besides Africa. I think sheep hunting per se is a classic example of that. I remember when I was a lad, I just couldn't fathom that someone would go out and have a grand slam of wild sheep. And I probably could still name some of the people that were really strong in sheep hunting. And then all of a sudden, big game hunting, particularly in mid-Asia, primarily places like Mongolia, Iran, Kyrgyzstan, the Swiss Alps, Austria, they became famous for big game in that classification, mostly mountain game. So here we had Africa as a base, and then international sheep hunting got to be a very popular thing and is still extremely popular today. Then conservation became a must for focus. So these stepping stones, if you will, have all made SCI wonderful and a powerful organization.
He's touched on some things there, Les, that you've had experience with the sheep. You're in the Hall of Fame for the North American 29. You've harvested all the species of big game in the continental, or the pretty much all in North America.
Yes.
So that's Canada, that's Northwest
Mexico,
Territories, that's all, all of America, including Alaska. In today's, in your, as far as your membership goes today, and your interest in Safari Club International, because you said many times you're going to get on a plane and go down to the convention this year in Vegas, which happens in a couple weeks. You have a huge passion for waterfowl hunting.
I do. I always have.
You've been up here in Wyoming, Nebraska line with Wild Nebraska Outfitters this last 3 or 4 days. When you sit back in that blind and you take it all in, the sunrise, the mountains, the cornfields, the Platte River, the amount of geese in the area, the amount of ducks in the area. You can't argue conservation works.
No.
You can't argue the sweat equity and the financial means that hunters put into this, making the hunter the ultimate conservationist, no doubt. What does it do at this stage in your hunting career to know that you've supported this organization called Safari Club International and to see the fruits of your labor? And this is a duck and a goose. This isn't a zebra. This isn't an elephant. This isn't a lion. This isn't a polar bear. This isn't a grizzly bear. This is a duck and a goose. A lot of people are like, it's a duck and a goose. But Safari Club has the means, and they are working behind the scenes daily to make sure that we get to wake up and see what we've experienced up here at Wyoming, Nebraska. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, as you guys were talking, one of the things I was thinking about, Safari Club has a lot of influence in the hunting world right now. But what can happen, if you look at the National Rifle Association, they've taken a lot of punishment politically. And without people backing Safari Club, what's partially happened to the NRA can happen to Safari Club. So people have to support them. But as you're being up here hunting ducks, I haven't done it quite as long as John, but I've done it a fairly good amount of time. And it's not the shooting of the duck. I set out there, sometimes I'd shoot, sometimes I didn't. And I enjoyed the people I was with. I enjoyed the dog work and just the whole terrain where we were at. And to me, that's the experience. Now, when I was maybe 25 years old, I wanted to kill a limit no matter what it took. But now I enjoy the people I'm with. I obviously, like everybody, has heard of John over the years as a big game hunter. And I had the opportunity to meet him and realize, he has killed a lot of big game, but he's not on this giant pedestal. He's just another hunter like the rest of us. He enjoys hunting ducks probably just as much as he did going over to Russia or wherever else he went. And that's just the camaraderie that comes about with Safari Club. You meet such a variety of people.
John, when you think about what we've experienced here at Wyoming, Nebraska with JJ and Mike and Janet, the entire crew, you have your lovely wife, Robin, with you, who's been on the podcast just a couple episodes ago. What do you tell somebody that's starting their hunting career right now? Let's say you're 19, 20, you're out of high school, you're in college, you're getting ready for your money-making years for the first time, and you can afford that truck and some gas and some decoys and maybe even a puppy. But how important it is to tell that 20-year-old kid, boy or girl, to get involved with conservation efforts and organizations like Safari Club, because it seems like it happens later in our hunting career as we mature into it. We were like what Les just alluded to. Oh, it's not about the kill all the time. And I'm not saying that you don't go through those maturity stages. It's fun to kill ducks, but there's more to it than that. What do you tell that 20-year-old, 21-year-old boy or girl that's getting ready to embark on this career of spending money, hard-earned money in hunting, but it has to be protected by groups like SCI?
Well, that's a pretty broad statement to answer. Well, I'm going to tell them, become informed, acquaint yourself with people who could voluntarily and happily mentor you. I think mentoring is a very, very big thing, and to preserve the integrity and the reputation of hunting, which was a prime resource and necessity for mankind. That's what they did to live. People were hunters, and we've kind of lost sight of that point. There are a lot of people that hunt for different reasons, and a lot of people think that if you're a hunter, you must really be in a bloodlust and you'd like to kill these animals. Well, that's really, particularly, I can speak for myself, that's not the picture at all. I enjoy the animals in every way that's humanly possible. At one time, although I consider myself an ardent waterfowler, I had a private collection of game birds, and I had an enclosed aviary with many species of ducks, pheasants, ornamental and utilitarian types, peacocks, etc. And obviously I had to love those animals to, take on a burden like that. So that's one phase of a hunter, a real love for the animals. Another is the sheer fact that there's a lot to learn. And I think my good wife, Robin, pointed out that when I first started to mentor her in wildlife, it was a real interesting progress because she did not come from a hunting family and had no exposure to firearms, but through an inquisitive nature and an interest in doing and sharing this wonderful obsessive habit that I have, she went all out to become updated and informed. So when young folks talk to me about hunting, I try to encourage them in every way by telling them, learn all you can. You can learn a lot from books. There's a lot of great books written about hunting, waterfowl in particular, and then also try to affiliate yourself with someone who can not necessarily formally mentor you, but someone who could tell you things like, well, gee, don't get a gun that you're not familiar with or is too much for you to handle, things of that nature that can be constructive. And, if you really want to do that, I'd suggest that you start with this kind of a weapon and this type of clothing, and let them know that you're interested and you're available to help them. I have people, and I'm a very modest by nature person on social media, but I have a lot of young people who just call and say, gosh, I'd like to talk to you about what I have to do to be able to do what you're doing. And I answer them all, and usually I say, well, you have to create a strong basis for mentoring, obtaining knowledge, and planning how you'll be able to handle the financing of this hunting and any activity, be it golf or skiing. It's an expensive process. So you have to tell them, at first you can have a lot of good times and learn a lot by hunting on public land. It's more difficult, but it does pay dividends. and do plenty of practice, become familiarized with your firearms and hunting techniques, and you'll get there. And that's usually what they need. I've had a lot of people call me back and said, well, I took your advice about hunting a mule deer, and I didn't get a very big one, but I got to use my new 270 or 6.5, and I really enjoyed it. Thanks for sharing the information with me. And I think that those seeds are planted, and we as senior members and people who have lived a lifetime of hunting, we can water those seeds and help them mature into stronger trees that will become the new hunters in the world, because none of us is here forever. And I think it's a nice legacy when you can have a letter from someone said, gosh, thanks for the tips that you gave me on my first trip to Mongolia, which is going to be in this August. I'll keep you posted. And when you know that you provided information and some forms of guidance, what not to do and what to do, when you know that that's helped a young person, I think that's a form of conservation that's kind of in the twilight zone, but it sure does help to get young people educated in what we're doing, how we're doing it, and why we're doing it. So that's kind of a mouthful, but that's the way it really is.
Pretty well spoken, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think I'm going to go to bed.
Hard to follow that up, huh?
Yes, it is.
Specifically, what we're experiencing up here in Nebraska, Wyoming border at Wild Nebraska Outfitters, Les, the sheer number of geese, the sheer number of ducks, the amount of activity. I mean, it's hard to fathom that. Like, this is going on. We could be, sitting in a blind at the Canvasback Duck Club, Nevada, where it might not be as much activity. Some years it is, some years it's not, depending on water. But this is going on in this little part, this little tiny corner of America. And this amount of birds, it's pretty awesome to see, right?
It is. It's something that you don't, even in this area, you might see it this year, next year, it may be different. I mean, it fluctuates depending on the agriculture and the weather and everything, but they still get a lot more waterfowl here than a lot of places that you might find. It's hard to fathom when you look up and see a string for 2 miles of geese up in the air, up and down, or all the ducks we saw going up and down the Platte River. By the thousands.
Crazy amount of waterfowl. Do you look at something like the operation that we're being a part of right now with Wild Nebraska? Everything from the personality to the blinds to you can see the passion and the dedication that's gone into it.
Absolutely.
The relationships they have with farmers and landowners. This is a 365-day a year job to make sure that for the few short months of waterfowl season that everything goes according to plan. Would you book a hunt here again based on what you've seen?
Absolutely. From what I've seen here today, and the way it's run, and the people that are running it are very pleasant. They're just nice people. And the blinds, for example, very seldom do you get to go, or at least in what I'm familiar with, into nice heated sunken blinds. And I've built a lot of blinds at Canvasback, and they're not heated, and they're not really the ones that are sunken or concrete, and they're a little chilly and usually have 4 or 5 inches of water in the bottom. That's not what it's like here. We had 4 heaters in each blind, each 5-man blind, and your back is nice and warm, and your fingers are freezing when you get outside. So it's very well done and very well planned out.
John, you came up with the idea to put this hunt together. Why Wild Nebraska? Why JJ and his dad Mike? Why do you choose to come here year after year with everywhere you could go visit in the world?
Well, it's certainly a combination of wonderful people to deal with. They're very honest. They follow up meticulously on every detail of your hunt, and they make sure that they know what you want to do, and they ask intelligent questions. and they're conservation minded, very efficient. And for instance, we had a firm booking date that was 3 or 4 days in the immediate future, and I received a call from YO's reservationists and Jason Randolph's father, and Mike said, John, we're expecting a big front to come through, and I know you and Robin plan to drive over. If there's any way that you could possibly come in the next 15 or 20 hours, I think you can beat that front and you'll make your schedule right on time. We'd hate for you to miss any good hunting days. Call me back. Well, I called in 15 minutes and said, well, we've talked it over, and we can be on the road in 45 minutes. And we didn't have any children to send to school or any pressing commitments, so we left early. We beat the storm. We got in another extra day's hunting, and it worked out very well. But they are professional in every way. They're sober people. They're well-mannered and intelligent. The follow-up is beyond reproach. And as we all say, you know, when we talk about hunting, no 2 days are alike, and this place is no exception. And there's nothing more concerning to them than an off day when you don't score on all the birds or the activity you like. But everything else goes so well. When they say we'll meet at 6 o'clock, they don't mean 5:30. They don't mean an hour late because we had to get gasoline. They are there. They use their phones intelligently. They have excellent collections that they can put into works that make everything go smooth. They have good staff, good communication, and I've had some hunts that were just staggeringly good. They're all good, but some of them were just outstanding, and there are going to be bad days for everyone. And we had one of our sons up, and he brought a friend, and we had an off 2 days. The birds were there the first day. Big weather change, full moon, and probably a horizontal type migration took place. The birds were not in this area. They were maybe 75 or 80 miles away. So we had a slow hunt, but the good outweighs the bad by so much. I've always had a wonderful time here, and I've recommended Nebraska to a lot of people, and I never make a recommendation unless I've hunted it personally, and no one's ever been disappointed. You know, no 2 days are alike, and we simply can't control the weather or the waterfowl, but anything that can be controlled and is controlled, they do a good job on it.
What do you think of Robin shooting, Les? Can she shoot a shotgun? Can she hold her own in a duck and goose blind, or was it all smoking mirrors and it was John handling that into the blind?
Well, you know, I wished I'd have known you were going to ask this question, because I could have really thought about it a little longer, because there was a lot of problems at that end of the blind. She was shooting birds right out from underneath me, I'm positive. And every time one of the small ones went down, she told me I killed it.
The lessers.
Yeah, whenever a lesser hit the ground, she said, "Good shot, Les."
Lesser, less of a man.
Yeah, that's exactly. I think that's some of her statements. Less for lesser, or something like that.
Less for less, but in
she's
all
an
reality,
she's an outstanding shot. And I've even told some other people, as I was talking to some friends back in Reno, I said, "Man, this John's wife can really shoot. She really is a good shot," and I mean that sincerely. She's an awesome shot.
What did you think this week of the cooking, the duck and goose we got to eat, John?
Well, it was really, really good stuff. And we have to give you a lot of credit for taking on that responsibility. And it is a responsibility. You know, anyone can go in the kitchen and dirty up a lot of pots and pans and say, well, listen, guys, this is a little overcooked, or I put a little too much salt on this. But we've had some really superb tasting meals, as they say in restaurant circles, very beautifully plated. It was nothing that was thrown together. It takes a lot of work, and I take my hat off to you for developing the recipes. And in that regard, we were very, very happy and pleased to get a signed copy of your wild game cookbook, and Robin has already looked it over quite comprehensively and said, boy, there's a half a dozen things I want to try in there, so we'll be partaking of more goodies. But our meals here, we've eaten several times in several restaurants, and without maligning them to any degree, there's a lot of nice people in there, but there's a lot to be desired on the quality of the food. And we had some 5-star dinners here, including tonight, and I've had the pleasure of enjoying your cooking on several occasions, and that's a big part about it. You know, if you said, well, we're going to go out on a culinary type trip and I'm going to be cooking some goodies for you guys for a couple of 3 or 4 days, you want to come along? Yeah, that's what I would call a gastronomical event, and I'd be there.
Hell yes. What about you, Les, on the ideology of calling geese? All the geese in the area are decoy spreads in these fields. Do we kill the amount of geese we've been killing without the goose calling, without the audio of the attraction?
Absolutely not. I mean, the goose calling is what's bringing we watched it time after time, turning them around. But back into the culinary.
Yes. What are we having tomorrow night?
What are we having tomorrow?
Well, and I'm at a real advantage because Chad only lives about 4 blocks from me. He loves to cook, and he knows I live alone, and and he does sometimes. But I won't go into that anymore. But so I am down there usually having lunch or dinner a few times a week. That being said, the calling was really good.
John, in a more serious matter, the goose calling, you enjoy it.
Oh,
you like the calling part of this game. How was the calling this week between Jason and myself?
It was really good until
and Clay. Clay called yesterday as well.
Well, I thought it was well done, and you guys have fortunately hunted together quite a bit, and you know how to talk together. One guy isn't saying, I'm lonesome down here, it's just me, and another guy isn't saying, better not come down in here because I want to run you off. And another one's saying, boy, there's plenty of food down here, we're just relaxed. So it isn't making a lot of noise on the call. You guys know when to tone it down and when to just make it a murmur. And the thing that I like to see is when you say, well, gee, it looks like they're hightailing it out, and they go about a quarter of a mile, and they're just steadily going away from them, and you hit them with a lot of chatter, and you just see that whole flock just give it a rock, and then downwind, come back in and hit the X. Now that's real fun. That's real fun to watch that, or a bunch flying over and they hear that and they just set their wings and you just see, oh boy.
They start to sail on you. Oh, it's my favorite.
That's right. They just come in and then you see those big black feet come down, you know they're in trouble.
Well, you all can book a hunt here. Waterfowl.com. JJ Randolph. He's the man. His dad, Mike, they're very organized, like Mr. John Lomonaco alluded to. Safari Club International, they're working for all of us behind the scenes daily. I love being part of the SCI family. Can't wait to get to Vegas for the national convention. Can't wait to hear Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump Jr. and all of the other special guests bring the smoke. They're going to bring the news. They're going to bring the heat. We have to stay on the gas on this. We have to support Safari Club International because I'm telling you, they are working relentlessly behind the scenes. I don't say that with a grain of salt. Take it serious. Become involved. Become a member. Become a life member. Check them out at safariclub.org. Let's all work together to keep this hunting heritage going strong. Let's stop the inner fighting. Let's get rid of the egos. It's not that hard to kill a deer with a gun that shoots a mile. It's not that hard to kill a whitetail from a tree stand with a bow that shoots 400 feet a second. A duck has a brain the size of a peanut. We're not reinventing the wheel here. Let's all drop the egos, work together, support each other, and come together because together we're a lot stronger, and that's exactly what Safari Club is. First for hunters, safariclub.org. For John Lomonaco, Les Naisbitt, thank you so much for listening to the Fowl Life Podcast, SCI, Safari Club International's Fowl Thoughts. Check out this song right here. This is 2 a.m. Logic. The song is called My Fowl Life.